Hello Bookish friends, welcome to another top 5 video of 2022. In this video, I will talk about my least favorite reads of 2022. When I look at my ratings of the books that I read in 2022, I realized that I had a pretty good reading year. I gave only 2 books 4 out of 10, and I gave the remaining 3 books 5 out of 10. I try to DNF the books I'm pretty sure that I will not like. That is one of the reasons why this list does not consist of books with less ratings than 4 out of 10. I think it's a strategy that works quite well for me. Anyway, let's see which books were my least favorite books among the ones that I read in 2022. And I finished my last book that I was reading for Jane Austen July, Edmund Bertram's Diary by Amanda Grange. This book is a retelling of Mansfield Park, which is written from the point of view of Edmund Bertram. And as can be understood from the title, it consists of diary entries of Edmund during the time period that the Mansfield Park takes place. First of all, I will say that this retelling was a completely faithful retelling of Mansfield Park. On the other hand, it was for that reason that I didn't really enjoy reading this book. Almost nothing new was added from Edmund's point of view. I know it is hard to create a different narrative for Edmund since he's in most of the scenes in the book. And he's certainly the least mysterious hero of Jane Austen. But the dialogues were taken directly from the book, as the repetition of the Mansfield Park that I've read very recently. The only sections that were added telling Edmund's education time in Eton and his relationship with his brother Tom. And there were some bits added in the end of the book too. But I think they consisted about only 5% of the book. Because of that reason, I skim-read most of the sections. Actually, I finished the book in 2 days, and I was very disappointed in this book because the other 4 books that I read from Amanda Grange belonging to this series were creative and added so much more from the hero's point of view. Especially the book Captain Wentworth's Diary added a period Frederick first met Anne. It's hard to believe that the author who wrote such creative narratives could have written this very unoriginal book. So overall, like I've said before, it was a very disappointing book, and I gave Edmund's Bertram's Diary by Amanda Grange 5 out of 10. The second work that I finished today was the stage play that I read for Books of Alfred Hitchcock Project. This month I read the stage play The Easy Virtue by Noel, who was apparently a very famous playwright in those times. This play was adapted into the movie of the same name, directed by Alfred Hitchcock in 1928. In this play, we mainly follow a family obsessed with morals and society norms, with the exception of the father. And when the son of the family comes back home with his new bride, who was a divorced woman and much more older than him, the family tries to cope with this new reality, and the struggles that each character faces is given in the play. Unlike the other 3 books that I've read for this project, I really didn't like this stage play at all. The only redeeming quality was the ending, which I cannot tell because of the spoilers. The play dragged on and on about the same things. I felt like I was preached on the hypocrisy of the family, which was evidently true, but it was the only plot point which made it very boring to read for me. I could have liked it better if I had seen the stage play, but I'm not even sure about that, because the pacing of the play is also very odd. The Easy Virtue by Noel was a very disappointing read for me. And at least I'm glad it did not take me very long to read this stage play. To sum it up, I gave The Easy Virtue by Noel a 5 out of 10. And late last night, I finished the book that I was reading for my real life book club, which was called Zaman Kırılmalarında Aşk by Erginer. The title of the book can be translated as Love in Time Fractures. The book was written by a local author, and he became our guest in the book club discussion that we did tonight. In this book, we follow the progression of love between two very peculiar beings, a May butterfly and a tortoise. These two beings first fall in love, but of course they cannot communicate first. After the help of a fairy, they can experience love for a limited period of time. They impress everyone with their very eternal love. Before I started this book, I was very excited that I would read a local author. But as I started reading the book, although I found the subject matter very interesting, love between two unlikely creatures, I thought the execution of the book was done really poorly. The theme of love, although I like romance, was repeated so much. I felt like I was being more and more distant from the theme of love. And also, aside from the numerous repetitions of the greatness of their love, writing style was very simple when you think about the enormity of their love. At some sections, I thought the author could be a quite successful middle grade author because of this quite simple writing style. And the book club was a bit hard for us because we wanted to be polite and not show that we really did not like the book. In summary, I'm very sorry to say that this book was one of the worst executed books that I have read this year. And just because of the really interesting subject matter, I gave Zaman Kırılmalarında Aşk by Erginer a 5 out of 10. Today is the 24th of August, and I finished the book that I was reading for Books of Alfred Hitchcock Project, number 17 by Jefferson Farjaen. The story was originally written as a stage play and then turned into a novel because of its popularity. And after that, it was adapted into a movie that is directed by Alfred Hitchcock. In this book, an ex-sailor who becomes a homeless person called Van one day goes into a empty house to shelter himself because he mostly lives in the streets. And then he comes across a murdered body. After fleeing from the house, he goes back to the house to find out what happened with a friend that he met in an inn the previous night. Two friends go back to the house. They see that the body has been disappeared, and many visitors do come to the house with the number 17 to meet this guy, and the two friends do find themselves in a house full of crooks, thieves, and possibly murderers. Although when I summarized what has happened in the book, You might think that this book was very exciting and engaging. It probably was like that for many of the people who read the book at those years, because this was the first book in a very long-running series with lots of books. But the book had the opposite effect for me. I really did not like the writing style. The tempo was too slow, especially at the beginning. I was listening to the audiobook, and Ben opened a door in a passage that I listened for maybe 5 minutes, just opening a door. So it was far from engaging in that sense. And I also really hated the writing style. Because there were so many characters in the book, it needed to be much more clear. But the writing style was also not very understandable. If I had not been reading this book for the Books of Alfred Hitchcock project, I certainly would have DNF'd this book. The ending was at least a bit interesting, but because of the bad writing style and very uneven tempo, I did not care less about what happened to the characters. This book was one of my least favorite books that I have read so far in 2022. And I gave number 17 by Jefferson Farjaen a 4 out of 10. And I finished the book that I lent from the library. I actually borrowed this book because of 2 reasons. One of them is that I really did like the novel Like Water for Chocolate from this author, Esquivel. And the second reason was that I really did love the cover of this book. I think it's a fantastic design. Turkish title of the Spanish book is Lüpita Yapmayı Seviyordu, which can be translated as Lüpita likes to iron clothes. And when I looked at the Spanish title, it is more or less means the same thing. And there is an English translation of this book. It's very interestingly titled Pierced by the Sun. In this book, Lüpita is a police officer who works in the traffic department, but becomes a very close witness of the murder of the mayor. We follow the events after this murder from mostly Lüpita's point of view, as well as the very tragic events that Lüpita faced in her past, such as sexual assault, rape, alcoholism, and the death of her son. I was very much disappointed by this book. I thought the writing was chaotic, and the plot seemed a bit interesting at first, with her being the witness to a very interesting murder. And then both because of the confusing writing style, as well as a very pessimistic past of Lüpita, made me lose my interest gradually as the book progressed. If the book was not a very short book, I would have certainly DNF'd it. Although the solution of the mystery was sort of interesting, because the focus was on something else entirely, which did not interest me at all. So I gave this book 4 out of 10, which is the lowest rating that I gave to a book this year in 2022. And I think I learned not to be fooled by just the cover, but read the synopsis as well. So those were my least favorite books of 2022. Please comment down below, have you read any of the books that I mentioned in this video? And if you did, I hope you had a better reading experience than I did. And if you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, I'm going to choose easy. Easy means kolay in Turkish, and kolay is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.